This is first time we are doing this on the video, and I'm really excited to have my friend here with me, Mary
Yes.
Maki. We'll be bouncing off ideas, sharing our experiences, especially your experience. But before we really dive in, we want to mainly understand your journey. First of all, who is Nyeriak? How did you end up in America?
My journey to Minnesota, if I could say that, it started from, Kakuma refugee camp, as most refugees do come from. For me, it was just that hustle of applying to everything and anything that comes your way. But
Mhm,
even learning about those opportunities, if they even exist, how to apply for them, waiting for your name to be posted on those placards, like and wait, or somebody would have run away with the with shortlisted notes or something like that. So like I think that was most of my journey, if I from my journey to college.
mhm,
And I used to be a teacher, like most refugees in Kakuma refugee camp. I taught at KRSS. I used to be Madam Mary. I would wear my beautiful skirt, and the dust is literally on your knee level,
mhm.
as we are walking in, and probably just like to even bring us to just the whole money thing at that very moment. Like, you're working as a volunteer teacher, so
Mhm,
you don't have a relationship with money whatsoever, right? And
uh-huh,
the moment you become an incentive teacher, like you graduate, okay, from being a volunteer teacher to an incentive teacher, and I'm talking $70 a month. Back then it would be like around 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. It depends with how much you showed up to school, and
mhm.
if the HR threatened you that week. We used to
Yeah,
have, like, what was her name? Cassandra? I don't even like.
I
I
actually
think that was,
don't remember
she was
her
the HR.
name.
I liked her. I liked her. But like, it used to be like a scary time of like, oh, the HR is coming. You need to learn about, like, lesson plans and all of that. But you are a volunteer teacher. No one is paying you for nothing, but you still have to show up every day, and
Mhm,
kind of like contribute to the economy of Kakuma, or like contribute to the learning of students. And just like most refugees at that point, like we were a staff of 80% made up of incentive teachers, or like refugee teachers. And I was one of them. And it took me probably 4 to 6 months before I was fully employed for my
mhm,
$70 salary. And
mhm,
I do remember the first time I got it. I wasn't even thinking about no college or anything like that. The first time I was paid, it was me and Maggie. She was also a teacher at KRSS, and we went and we changed it into 100 Kenya shilling. And then you're playing like 50 cent song, dollar, dollar bill. Yeah. We felt so rich. We felt so rich. And then you realize that, hey, everyone is at your door. Everyone is at your door.
like share the money.
They knew your payday before you knew it, okay? Like, because they will see you going to like Franco, and then all of a sudden you're having injera and that one
Mhm,
soda, and then there's like some South Sudanese men out there, like, like sucking their teeth and be like, how are you in a restaurant? And I'm like, yo, bro, I just made this money. I need to also enjoy and kind of like have a good time. And I think even right before coming to the US and coming to college, that was my first introduction to money.
mhm,
Okay. My $70 paycheck. And I was so excited that I could finally braid my hair, or I could get that skirt from the mutumba they used to sell, like in Ethiopia, in Kakuma.
the second-hand clothes.
Yeah, the secondhand clothes. Like, you felt
Mhm,
like you can have something, but in literally 1 week, you have no money.
mhm,
Okay. In 1 week, like, there's an old mama at your door telling you that, hey, mtoto wangu amekunywa wembe, like, my child swallowed a razor. There was always something. And for someone like me, that is, I'm full of empathy, and I would just feel terrible, where I'm like, I can't go to eat this money while it could actually help an entire family.
mhm,
And before I knew it, I had actually distributed and everything. My younger siblings were living in Nairobi at this point, and uh, you're being called your payday. You have to contribute to the family, And I'm like,
uh-huh,
I'm barely making anything. So in
uh-huh,
1 week, think about it. I sent probably 2,000, 3,000 home. Okay,
uh-huh.
minus seven. I don't know math.
That's Kenya shillings.
This is Kenya shilling. Okay, so you're left with 5,000 Kenya shilling. 5, 6, 7. No, you're left with 4,000 Kenya shilling. I'm
Mhm,
sorry, it wasn't my strong suit, like math, at all. So with the money that I'm left with, I'm kind of like, you're trying to ration it. These people, like I was staying with my uncle, so of course I have to contribute to the household. You give probably 1,000 or 2,000 depending on the need. Um, before you go and pay off all the debt of like your hair being made or like a clothes that you bought or like a bag or something like that, you've got no money. That was my relationship with money from the get-go. I later on got into the program, the Bridge to Rwanda program in Rwanda, and left for Rwanda. Money is now in a different currency, okay? And I'm in this program and I'm applying for every single college that I could find because it wasn't a sure deal. Just like Elimisha Kakuma too, it was more like this is not a scholarship. You have to work, you have to learn your SATs, you have to be good with your TOEFL exams, you have to learn the names of universities and really get your spot at university. So there was that gamble of like, if I don't get college, I'm going to go back to Kakuma refugee camp. And the thought of going back to the camp, I felt like would feel like failing for me. So I had to give it my all. But in relationship to money at that point, now you're being introduced to a whole different set of money. The students that were in the program in Rwanda, most of them, or like some of them came from really well-off families. And you get to see children having things, and they used to give us a stipend of 10 bucks.
Yep.
10 bucks a month.
$10.
Literally, my salary in Kakuma was bigger than whatever I was being given like
Even
in
in Rwanda.
Rwanda. But to be fair, we had a house like that we were all living in. There was food and all of that. But that in itself, like still, you have to think about sanitary products, all these other things that you need. And you could barely like manage anything. At that time, I think I gave my TED talk in 2018. And I started getting speaking engagements as a student, right? Even before I came to college. And I remember flying into North Carolina to do a talk with Meredith College. They paid me probably $3,000. I think that was the very first time I actually touched money. $1,000 US. Convert that into Rwandan francs. How much is it?
If $10 is what? $10 used to be what? 10K? Used to be
Kenyan
10
money was way better than Rwandese money,
Rwandan.
and no one comes
Yeah.
Kenyan shilling. Okay, like 3,000 USD by then was close to 300,000 Kenyan shilling. Okay, our house had not been paid for like almost like a year in Nairobi. So guess who is calling me first? Okay. And then you're feeling guilty because number one, you've never touched this kind of money in your life, okay? So I got a call from home like, hey, the kids are about to be chased from the house. We can, mind you, this is a house in Kibera. This is a 2-bedroom apartment for like close to 10 to 17 people. Like all the relatives are coming in. For it to have accumulated close to like, like if it's 200 USD a month, like if it hasn't been paid for an entire year, that's a
It'll
lot
be
of money.
almost 2,400.
Okay, so like already my money is going. I don't have it. Okay, so it comes and there was already debt to be paid. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting ready for college. I need a suitcase. I need to, I need to buy myself like beddings or things like that. And I was so fortunate to get into MasterCard Foundation, which really gave me a huge cushion. But I feel like financial independence began literally when I was still a teacher. And I will say I didn't even know how to manage it because I was not only being driven by I've never touched money. There was also the part of like I understand the need on the ground and I need to show up. Like there was never a dispute about that. I'm like, oh, but of course I need to show up. I need to pay it.
You need to support.
Yeah,
So
I need to
whenever you get
support
that money, you're like,
this.
I can't keep it for myself. There's so many people
Exactly.
that will benefit from it.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know, like if I kind of like strayed away from your question.
No. That is totally within the same lens because that's setting the baseline of your relationship with money. The way you are earning even the little money back in the camp, moving to Rwanda, and then coming into the US. Has that improved or are we still money?
A rich man's well, sorry, I'm an ABBA fan. Like I feel like I came to St. Olaf, and the first thing is understanding your financial aid. You can easily fall behind if you don't understand your financial aid package. If you have to pay scholarship taxes, okay? So these taxes, that's the hardest part of the game. So like you're going to school as a student and as an international student on an F1 visa, there are restrictions. You cannot work more than 20 hours a week, right? Especially during the school year. So per fortnight, you're probably getting $200, $300. It depends with how, like, the rates. Back then, I think it used to be $9 an hour, and then they slowly increased to 10.
In Minnesota?
Welcome to the
Wow.
Midwest. Okay, it used to be $9 an hour, and then I
Mm-hmm.
think they increased to 10. There was a few people that were working in the school cafeteria. They were being paid $12 an hour, and we felt like they
And
were
those
the
the
richest.
richest.
Woo! Oh, let me tell you.
Life of being a student.
And that job was not easy, okay, but we took it. You had to
Mm-hmm.
do every kind of job on campus. So there's a part of you that, April is coming. That means you have to pay your taxes. Uh, Everyone, now that you're in America,
Mm-hmm.
every responsibility in your home falls on you. And remember, you have restrictions on how many hours you can work. So you only have 20 hours. You still have to maintain your GPA. Otherwise, you're not going to have your scholarship still support you. So you're literally gambling everything. And I wanted to have every kind of job on campus. And if you know, on campus jobs, like they're usually 5 hours or 6. You're not going to find like a 10-hour shift or something in it, because then you're taking away from all the other students. And I used to admire all the students that worked on the front desk or something like that, because you're working at the front desk, then it means that you could do your homework or something like that. I was working in the school cafeteria, okay? I had to dream of plates on a conveyor belt, okay, chasing me in my dream. But I was thinking about my $200 at the end of the 2 weeks. And I was so excited about it. But the problem then happens is in a month, then you're going to make probably 400 minus taxes. You're probably making 250 to $300. Rent in Nairobi, okay, was like $200. I'm saying that because my younger siblings were in Nairobi at this point, okay? If I'm thinking about contributing to my family in Kakuma or something like that, you're probably sending $100, or like, it depends with how many family members have called you that month. Okay, so they're probably calling you, like 3-4 people are calling you. You're sending $50, and they will tell you like, you mice,
You
you did
only
not
sent
send us
$50.
$50. If only they knew how hard
That
that was
was how much.
for you to
If
even.
if you convert it into hours, how many hours of your kitchen work?
Hey, that was 5 hours of standing, okay, before taxes. So after taxes, that is almost like 3 hours. So the other 2 hours were free labor to the government. Okay? Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that. But I do remember, like, you'd get paid, and the money is already accounted for before it even hits your bank account. Now, the mistake that happens is credit cards. I don't even know what a credit card is. I don't understand it. I'm like, ooh, free money. What is all this amazing money that I just get for free? So when people call me, I think I would panic. Anytime I received a phone call, either on Messenger, on my phone, I'm like, oh, my sister must be sick. This is happening. My sister's kids are sick. Or like, there was just always something, and I'm thinking about it. I need to step in. Even before I even understood, number one, American money. In my brain, I was converting everything into Kenyan shillings, okay? So like, if someone is giving me $100, they're like, oh, you're really suffering in college. Because they're not like college broke kids, okay? $100, I'm like, wow, 10,000 Kenya shilling. Oh, you get a lobster. You get a lobster. Everyone get a nyama choma or something like that, So like, you think you're rich, but you're not thinking in American dollars and American economy and how for you as a student to survive. So imagine me, like, in 2 weeks or like in a month, I've been paid $400. Okay, minus taxes, I've been paid 280. Let's give it 280, okay? And then all that money, if our rent in Nairobi was $200, I've sent 200. How much am I left with? 80. I still feel like I'm rich, okay? $80. Like a cousin here, a cousin there, you're sending $20, and they call you out for it, okay? You're left with probably $10. Okay? Now with $10, or like $10 cannot even get you a taxi to go to Target to go get whatever food you need. In short, you don't have money. So what are you going to do? You're going to use your credit card. Okay? And then the crazy thing is that at some point, your credit card is gone. It's like you don't have any money, like you've gone beyond your credit limit. Friends are like, hey, do you want to go? Do you want to go for like lunch or dinner? I'm like, oh, what beautiful, amazing people. You don't understand the cultural context. For you think they're going to pay for you because that's how we do it culturally. Like if a South Sudanese is like, hey, I'm going to take you out for dinner or like, let's go to dinner, you assume they're going to pay for it. Kumbe.
Mhm.
Let me tell you, those people are going to leave you with an entire bill of like, oh, you are out there just ordering chicken and whatever you feel. Or you
Mhm.
know it, you have an entire bill that you need to work for an entire month to pay.
To pay it off. Yeah.
Okay? To pay because of dinner. God, because of dinner. And then I learned. I was like, the next time when I go out with friends, I will just order water. Okay?
Mm.
Like I'm going to get the cheapest thing on the menu or something like that.
Mm.
College kids, let's split the
Split
bill.
it.
I'm like splitting the bill. I saw someone get an entire fish. Oh God, it hurts me every single time I talk about it.
Mm.
It kills me. So I feel like I was starting to drown in debt.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then there is that part where like people are not going to believe you that you're struggling.
Mhm.
Like, what do you mean you're struggling? You're married. Like,
Mhm.
you guys started an entire organization. They don't understand it's a non-profit. 501(c)(3). You don't get profit, okay?
Mhm.
And even that was struggling. That's a story for another day. We started the program as college kids. Yo, that was a dumb
Yeah.
idea at some point when you think about it, but it was the most
Mhm.
amazing program we ever started, but also
True.
very, let me not say dumb. It was a hard decision to do as a college kid.
Yeah. So I'm actually curious because you've given really good points in terms of, just struggling, being a student, working, and having to meet all the demands from people that are calling back at home, and you had to send every single dollar that you were earning. Was
Mhm.
there at any point did you feel like I need to start thinking what I'm doing? Like, was there at any point when you have that experience of going out and now you cannot even pay for your own outing with friends? Was there any shift?
Not quite. And this is where the disease is, okay?
Hmm.
Not quite. Because there was that part of you, I want to call it almost shame of, but I still need to provide for my family, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so it necessarily didn't shift. In fact, like I felt like I did more jobs on campuses. Okay,
Mhm.
so I was everywhere. I was painting, campus walls.
Mhm.
I was doing speaking engagements at that time. I was taking care of turtles. Like in the biology labs. I even had their
Mhm.
names. It was fun. Like I
Mhm.
was taking care of microscopes. Or like cleaning them or things like that. Like I did almost every single job on campus just to get
Mhm.
the extra money. And you would have thought like, oh, she is learning. She's
Mhm.
learning so that she could pay off all her debt. No, so that
Mhm.
I could help more people and pay more needs at
Mhm.
home. So in short, I was digging more tunnels for
Mhm.
myself. With I think a part of it was like the pride of like I want to be able to provide for my family.
Mhm.
I want to still show up. And
Yeah.
then there's almost like a cultural expectation of like, of course you should do it. And
Mhm.
we come from a community where you should never think about self. Thinking about self is selfish. It has to always be other people, taking care of other people. And it doesn't help to be a firstborn daughter. Like
Yeah.
you're constantly giving, and you should never think about you. The moment you do that, ematil. Walacho in English.
What are those? The frugal? Like
Not even frugality. I wish I could
it
be frugal. Like it's more like uh you're a miser.
like you don't share. Yeah, that type of
Yes.
like you're not somebody that is willing to share or to
Or
help
to
others.
give.
Yeah, to give. Yeah, you are not giving.
Or you're
I think that's
selfish.
more
I think you're
closer.
selfish.
You're selfish. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's
Yes.
yeah.
I feel like language is one of those things where like
Yeah.
translation is almost impossible. But
Mhm.
I really suffered from that.
Mhm.
From like, but I don't want people to feel like I'm not giving them. But the
Mhm.
problem is I needed help.
Yeah.
I was drowning in debt.
Mhm.
Um I needed to provide for myself to survive in this country in the
Yeah.
first place.
Uh-huh.
There's this app that we use to send money home, Sendwave.
Mm.
And I remember like near my senior year when the international student counselor came to us and like, by the time you graduate, you should have at least $10,000 saved in your account. I'm like,
Mm.
$10,000? Who do you think I am? You know,
Uh-huh.
what? There's no way that I have that.
Mm.
200 is even a miracle to begin with. Okay. And
Uh-huh.
then I started panicking. I'm like, I'm not going to succeed. How can I get an apartment?
Mm-hmm. Your first
I,
rental.
your first rental, like how you don't have credit. You're still a college kid. You've never been employed and you don't have any savings.
Uh-huh.
I used to admire all those kids that didn't have to send anything home, that
Uh-huh.
work and their salary is theirs. For us, we have
Uh-huh.
communities to kind of like provide for. But am I setting myself up for failure? If I don't have housing, if I can't even have a meal for the day, is my family even safe? Can I even
Mm.
provide for my family? And I started to ask myself this question. I still wasn't clicking to a point like
Mm.
I think someone was telling me, why don't you do it like tithe, Mary? 10% you send it home. But it did not click to me. But I'm like, impossible. My siblings will be chased out of the house, you know?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
some people actually looked at me and they thought I was crazy
It's like
for
you're
sending
losing it.
almost like 80% of my salary or like almost 90% of the salary home.
Uh-huh.
Some people that don't have my cultural context will be like, she, how? And then I'm like,
Mhm.
but this is, I come from a whole completely different, community. And I think I'm still struggling with it. I will not say that I
Uh-huh.
was magically cured. And I was using Sandwave since freshman year. And by the time I graduated, not I magically, for the first time, okay, I looked at my Sandwave to see how much did I send in the last 4 years to Kenya, to my siblings and my families and all the other people. And I think at that time, right now, I don't even want to look at it because I'll faint. Okay. I think at that time it was around almost 70,000.
Uh-huh.
70,000. I'm like, how on earth did I even make 70,000? But it
Uh-huh.
makes sense. The $100, the 200, they accumulate. And I
Uh-huh.
moaned, I cried. I'm like, I could have bought a house for my
Uh-huh.
siblings. It would have been
Yeah.
a bigger investment that could have
Uh-huh.
actually benefited my community. I could have started a shop
Uh.
or like a boat. Probably a boat doesn't make sense, but like I could have come up with something,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
and probably help my community even better. And that I think that's when I knew I had a problem.
Mm.
I think that's when I was like, okay,
The remittance wake up call, seeing the number.
yes, I think that was a big wake up call for me, where I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not healthy
Mm-hmm.
financially in this country. I
Mm-hmm.
can't survive. And the worst thing, I don't have someone to fall back to. Of course, I did build a community, but they will not understand why 80% of my pay is going back home.
Mm-hmm.
And asking for money decapitates you.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things that, God forbid that I don't ask you for money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people back home will not understand my context here. And I will try very much to try to explain it to them, but it will still come out as you're being selfish. I had to go to therapy for that. I think that was my wake up call. Yes, I gave you a whole story of Mary coming to school on money.
Yeah. I know a lot of people that will be listening to this, they
Yeah.
will definitely identify with that guilt of not even thinking about, having money. Because as you said before, when you will see even $10 is in your account, you're like, this is a lot of money. I still have to send a portion of it
Yeah.
back home because people need it. And then you leave yourself like in a very uh, financially
Vulnerable.
vulnerable position. Then you have now that wake up call that, shoot, I'm about to graduate. How am I going to get an apartment?
Mhm.
So I'm really curious when you reach that point, what are things that you started doing? What are kind of like, maybe financial boundaries that you started putting in place towards at least start thinking of after I graduate, I will not have the help and the protection of the university housing,
Yeah.
food, but all these expenses now are falling into your lap. and yet you have no savings in your account?
I think one, I started to any relative that call me thrice a month, I'm like, are you kidding me? Call me once at least. You know, I'm like, it's not even feasible. Imagine how many other people are calling me at the same time, you know.
I know.
So I had to like get off of Facebook and Messenger. But it was a painful cut because you still want to be connected to your family,
To your community.
and to your community. But the problem is, anyone that called me it wasn't like, "Hi Mary, how are you doing? How is school going?" It's like, "Send me." And to some point, you're like, does anyone care about my existence? To
Yeah.
begin with. And I started shaving off people slowly, and I still felt guilty about it. Okay. I really worked on paying my credit card. I think that was the biggest one. I still fall behind sometimes because that's what,
And
you know
that
what? I'm
depends
not
on
ill,
you.
but look, I'm just a girl too. But I think paying off my credit card was really important. I still panic with debt, but I had to learn to be okay with debt, but also pay it off and chip away slowly. I started I would be lying if I said I started saving because I couldn't save, right? Like every money that I got, you cannot stretch your expenses. So like every money I earned, there was something waiting for it. But I saved up for my first apartment, so that I could have a deposit, so that I could have like at least a 2 month rent, so that I could have food. I was moving to one of the most expensive city in the world, New York City. Whoever advised me, I need to slap them. I think it was me. But never mind. But I saved up for my pasta, the South Sudanese in me is
The
showing.
thinker is coming
My
slowly.
first apartment, okay, right? Like I had to save up for it, and I really felt so proud of myself when you buy your first cookware and you decorate your home. And I'm coming from a big family, so having your own bedroom is a miracle, almost. And I felt grown, and I felt like an adult in that very moment. And then I started to put a little bit of boundaries of like people that I know don't have someone else to go to is who I'm going to help. But also not at an expense where like my expenses have not been met. If I don't have rent for the month, there's no way I'm sending any money to anybody because I needed to first make sure that I was grounded, right? I think that became like a really big one where like you have to pay yourself first. And paying yourself first wasn't even the way financial advisors put it. For me, it was something as simple as making sure I have food and rent. That's how sad it is. Because I still had responsibility over my siblings, and I needed to make sure that they're not homeless. But all this thing of like, oh, I'm going to a birthday party, I need to get my hair done. I'm like, go sit down with your sister, let her braid you. I just need to make sure your rent is paid. That's it. And you have food. The rest, you toil. The other big thing that I really had to do was almost empower my siblings so that they can get themselves. We're still working on that. But I feel like that was the only, I cannot be the only person that is providing for the house. There's a part of me that if you watch my TED Talk, I lost my parents really young. And I think that scares me until today, where I'm like, if you depend on one person for so long, what if they're gone? Then who are you going to rely on? And I think that is something I started talking actively with my siblings, and I still do, of like, what if something happens to me? How are you going to survive? And God forbid, because, Garanganyat prayed for us. And everyone in my family, no devil shall come. But still, what if that happens? The odds are they're likely. I've seen it, so there was that part of like, I needed to make sure that I invest in them so that they can get themselves too. And it's just not me as the only person that have made it out in the family. Yeah.
That was such a beautiful wake up call and putting, at least not just putting boundaries in terms of finances, like, hey, I am not going to spend any money, but you started empowering, the level of independence so that everyone doesn't come to you. Now, did this really solve the entire endless call? No, but at least you reach a point where you are like, it is Mary first, and I have to figure out where I am heading.
Ding, it had to happen. Do you know those people that walk naked in Juba? Konyo konyo. I was headed there, okay? Like you could
Yeah.
have seen me on the street, okay? And I was like, I'm not about to
Yeah.
be on the street naked because I'm going crazy. I
Mhm.
think when that level comes,
Yeah.
you need to take a step back and be like, am I okay?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
That was such a beautiful way you tie your story from, Kakuma to Rwanda and to US and having to deal with a lot of financial struggles with family, immediate and extended family, and even friends. And you reach a point where you had that wake up call and you're like, okay, I need to figure out what I'm doing. I'm graduating college. What do I do next? So, in terms of everything that we have discussed, what does being a thriving daughter means for you? How this realization, or maybe your definition, impact how you see your future progressing?
I think I love how you title the podcast as Thriving Daughter. The daughter is really important because we still belong to the community,
Mhm.
right? And I think for me, how I see myself as a thriving daughter, like how can I still show up for my community, but also show up for myself in the same way? And I think that is the big question. For instance, when you are asking me like, then what did I create to kind of like start to become financially healthy? I think it was more like, okay, I'm going to empower my siblings, right? It's not like I'm going to leave you in the gutter. I'm not asking anyone out there to go be selfish and don't send nobody no money, But how do you do it in a way that you feel healthy, in a way where you're not depleted and you're going crazy, but in a way where you can still be a contributing member of a community without depleting yourself in your own. If you don't have food to eat and you're giving out money, something is wrong. Okay. Like if you cannot even nourish your own self, how can you lift somebody else up? And I think that's how I see myself as a thriving daughter, in a way where like, how can I first ensure that I'm okay mentally? I'm okay. Like, I have a house. I have a place to live. If I am under a bridge, I cannot be contributing. I should not, in fact, be contributing to anyone if I'm living out underneath a bridge. I really hope that you, as the listener, get to really understand that. How do I show up for my community? By showing up for myself. Okay. If you're in a good financial station, then it's easier to give. For instance, if my rent is paid, if my bills are paid, I have saved up money, I'm creating interest out of it. I can start a business in the community. I'm able to employ people within the community. If I'm giving or if I'm sending money to let's say my family, I would love to probably invest it in something that will generate money for them so that they can give to themselves and they don't have to depend on me. It's the definition of thriving daughter for me. And that's what I'm trying to do, starting with my own siblings in the current capacity that I can, right? I feel like it's all about being honest with myself and knowing how far I can stretch myself without overstretching myself to a point where no one can help me. And in this country, trust me, you'll be alone. Yep.
We are not alone. Yeah. So we'll
Awesome.
be doing a lot of this. I'd also
Yep.
love this having you. I mean, you're part of this entire the foundation of this podcast. So
Yeah.
we're on this journey of creating a community of thriving daughters.
We thrive in Charlotte right now.